But this is a typical, you guys have seen a ton of these. It's a Vasa plugin that we built. It integrates directly with the storage and the ClearSky platform. And what you'll see as this comes up is we'll automatically identify all the ClearSky volumes. We'll assign a default protection schedule to those volumes automatically, and then it's up to the user to basically deassign that schedule if they don't want the volume protected in a such manner. They can also create various different types of schedules, whether they're 1 hour, 15 minutes, 5 minutes, as Laz mentioned. And then essentially what we have is our protection points. So once the schedules are running, we'll create all of our recovery points based on the schedules that are taking place. They're, keep in mind, happening on the back end, so there's no file level protection points or recovery points that are happening here. Everything is at the storage level, but we're protecting it via the Vasa plugin, and we have full VAI functionality. So we have 13 data stores that are hosted on ClearSky in this environment. 11 of them are enabled for recovery points. 2 are available, which essentially means as the administrator, I have enabled schedules on 2 of those data stores. And what that means is now I can reach in and I can look at my data protection schemes and browse through my recovery points. And this is the catalog that Laz mentioned. And when this comes up, it's going to basically queue up all the different recovery points that I have for my volumes, for my data stores. And then I can dig into each one of these and get an understanding of what happened for this recovery point. So one of the things that you'll notice here is we have different consistency states. And the consistency state is really backed by whether or not VMware Tools is running in that VM. So if VMware Tools is running on that VM, then we'll queue up VSS providers that are running in the hosts. We'll make sure that the file system and the OS are both consistent, and the overall consistency state of that VM will be in a consistent manner. Versus, on the flip side of that, if VMware Tools is not installed, then the VM will end up being a crash consistent state. So during a recovery, then we'll have to replay that and allow that to rebuild after the data store is recovered. Now, for recovery operations, we have the side-by-side recovery. We can recover in place and so on. The nice thing about this is that we can tie this into our data center DR story real nicely, in that if we want to implement protection capabilities from one data center into another data center, then we can, because all of this protection points and recovery points are hosted in the Metropolitan POP. So we can bring these up at any one of the data centers in that metropolitan area. And we can initiate the restore and recovery operations in either one or any one of those data centers in the metropolitan area. So as we continue to build on the functionality here, as VMware starts to integrate better and a little bit more functionality into the cloud and in the Amazon cloud space, we'll also be able to take advantage of those capabilities and have a full-featured, fully integrated functionality in terms of protection and application and consistency.
So I see lots of VM snapshots. Are you able to do an actual file level recovery if you only need a handful of files from that, or is it just at the VM level?
So if we wanted to do a recovery in that manner, we would essentially bring up a copy of that snapshot.
Yeah, and get what you need. Get
what we need out of it. We could browse the data store, pull in what we needed, and then just shoot away afterwards when we're complete.
So you may have already said this, is VMware the only supported hypervisor? Is this going to
with application integration today? Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it could be anything because it's just fiber channel.
Just fiber channel, right? Exactly.
And you don't charge data transfer fees, is that correct?
That's correct.
So if I want to do my own on-site backup and pull all this data back across there once a week, I could.
Yes.
Sure.
And I must have missed this. If I want to do DR out of a metro area, out of region, somewhere else, can you guys do replication between your POPs, or is that extra? Can you do that? How's that done?
So we haven't rolled that out yet, but that's definitely it's doable. What we would do, it wouldn't be completely free because you actually have to have infrastructure in the POP where you're recovering.
Right.
Whatever software, if we go back to the architectural diagram, whatever software that's running on your behalf in the local point of presence needs to have a mirror in the remote point of presence. But when we set that up that way, then it's possible not to get RPO 0. Obviously, that's a problem.
Right.
But you'll be able to get RPO of 10 minutes. So
Okay.
the way the system works, going back to this, the POPs will accumulate written data for 10 minutes and then flush them out. At 10-minute intervals. So the cloud, which is ultimately the data master, is up to date at 10-minute intervals. So if you go to a different location, you're 10 minutes behind at most.
Yeah. Do you have healthcare customers right now?
Yes.
Do you know if you will sign like the BAA agreement?
Yes.
You will do? Okay.
Yes, we do sign BAAs, in fact, the one healthcare customer that I mentioned earlier was particularly demanding, and they took us down a really interesting set of paths with respect to audit and security. Yes, they're.
No, that's interesting because a lot of the large public cloud providers will not do a BAA.
So Amazon does, and
You have to hit them over the head a few times.
Well, thankfully, I have a piece of paper. They signed it. A couple of the big ones. Eventually, I think all the big ones will get around to it. Some of the smaller ones as yet to be determined, I think. But it really is a necessary part of doing business in this legal environment.
So as a follow-on to what Jason was talking about as far as DR goes, are you guys just putting appliances on each of the ends and then doing an S3 or an EBS replication in the public cloud to do that DR, or?
No. We actually cache data inside of the POP for an extended period of time. So we have these large elastic scale-out caches that we keep in the POP. They're designed to hold roughly a couple months worth of data, and they'll kick stuff out algorithmically. But they're really a small portion of the overall data set. And what we do is we arbitrage the data stored in the cloud and how much it costs to get it versus the data that's in the cache that is free to access, but is maybe in some cases farther away. So what we're trying to do is manage or balance performance versus cost in a particular environment.
Okay. What's
the relationship between the amount of data that you have and how many appliances that you need per site?
That's a good one. We actually put some sort of hypothetical numbers in a whiteboard, and so for the most part they've actually turned out to be spot on. So out of your active data set, and not counting snapshots, but an active data set, what we found through software that we wrote is that around anywhere from 7 to 12 or 13% of your active data set is actually accessed over the course of a week or two in a typical workload, even databases. So we try and size the edge so that physically that cache is big enough to hold that working set. What that means is that you get a higher than 90% hit rate on that edge with that level of sizing. And also because it's a cache, it's not durable storage, we can actually oversize it at a relatively low cost. And so we have buffering.
You're doing like dedupe and compression locally on the cache?
Yes, yeah.
And across the wire for all the...
Yeah, in fact, one of the interesting things about what we do, we have the dedupe and compression built in, but the biggest benefit for us in terms of system behavior is really the wire speed optimization. We can get a lot more bandwidth and a lot more throughput through the system because we have that. The total cost of the storage, one of the things, even in the 3 years that we've been around, price of per gig of Amazon storage, which has been the first cloud we use, has gone down by 67% or so, actually even more. So deduping to save money on space is, generally speaking, a losing proposition. But deduping to save bandwidth on wires is actually very, very beneficial.
And each edge appliance comes with its own dedicated set of links, right?
Yes.
If I wanted to add one edge appliance, I would have to also buy additional links.
Yes. So there's customers that we're talking to right now that actually have they're going to have multiple edge appliances, and what we do in those cases is we upsize these links. So in the link economics that we've seen is that when you have more than a couple of 1 gigs, the cost of a 10 gig is about equivalent, or actually in some cases cheaper. So you're better off going to 10 gig private connectivity and saving some money, and also having that headroom.